Good day, and welcome to the Phill Barrett Show here at an undisclosed location in Saratoga County. It's so great to be back with you. Hopefully you were able to catch our last couple of episodes. We had a great episode a couple of weeks ago with Jack O'Toole talking about the economy, inflation, stock market, and hopefully gave you some good information that you can use when considering your investing options, whether you are a current investor or somebody who's looking to get into investing. One thing we talked about that day was the Trump trade. We talked about the fact that going into the election, there were certain stocks and investments people might be interested in, might go to if they thought Harris was going to win, and vice versa if Trump was going to win.
Did you hear about that guy?
And we talked about, I haven't introduced you yet.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm still talking here. I haven't introduced you yet.
So excited.
You're always so excited to be on this show. That's good. That's good. We like the enthusiasm. But anyway, so we talked about that, and hopefully some of those areas in the Trump trade that we discussed that day you took advantage of, because those areas have really shot through the roof, and you'd have more money today than you had a couple of weeks ago. So we didn't give any stock picks necessarily, but gave you some ideas on what to do upcoming. We're going to have more of those shows in the future. Maybe have Jack back and have some folks talking about finances. With me here today is Jay. What's up, Jay?
Can I talk?
Yeah, you can talk.
I'm really excited.
You can talk now. Now you're introduced. You can officially talk. Go ahead.
Did you hear about that guy that invested in Kishishi, and he bet $80 million that Trump was going to win, and he doubled his money?
Wow. That's pretty good.
Nuts.
Well, that was a good bet. He didn't need our show.
Could you imagine betting $80 million?
No. Do they take credit? Can I use a credit card? Or I don't have $80 million on hand to stroke a check, but
that was a great show, though. Mr. O'Toole did a fine job.
Yeah, he sure did.
Yeah.
He sure did. He gave a lot of great information and really delved into some important discussion topics related to all the areas I just mentioned. So we're going to do more of that. I received a lot of very positive response about that show. So definitely something that's of interest to many people as you make your financial decisions each day. So great to have you, Jay.
Thanks, Phil.
We're in the TGM studios. Like, subscribe, please. The more subscribers we have, the larger reach we'll also have, and then you won't miss a show as the channel gets built out. So make sure you subscribe, and we'd love to have you on the team. Just a couple of quick updates with local government. For those of you that watch the show, you know I am the Clifton Parktown Supervisor and Chairman of the Saratoga County Board of Supervisors. So I have dual role, if you will, and multiple responsibilities, and one of those is getting the budget done on the town side and also at the county. And I'm not going to dive into too many details here, but at least want to let you know that the county budget is currently in process and the tentative budget has been released. We will vote on a final budget document in December. But as far as the tentative budget goes, the county property tax rate will be decreased by 5%.
Nice job.
And we will remain under the tax cap. And I think by now a lot of people understand, at least from a surface level, what the tax cap is all about. The lowest property tax rate in the 55 upstate counties at $1.87 per thousand here in Saratoga County. So lowering it 5% brings it down a little bit, and you'll see that reflected. It's a $432 million budget, and we also have the lowest per capita spending of any county in New York State. So, of course, per capita, you're talking about the total budget and in relation to your population. And we have the lowest per capita spending in New York State. A lot of challenges this year in budgets, households, municipalities, businesses. with inflation the way it's been, it's increasingly difficult to manage. We have revenue sources that are stagnant or lower, and then you add in inflation and increasing costs, it becomes increasingly difficult. But we're in a good spot here in Saratoga County. We're also still in the midst of building out our current county environmental health department as part of our overall Department of Health. That was something I was tasked with a few years ago. We've made great progress, continually taking over programs from New York State. Once Saratoga County hit a certain population, as we approached 250,000 people, it is incumbent upon the county to take over those operations from New York State. One of the big ones, the largest of those programs, and there's many, is restaurant inspections, and we'll be taking over that segment of environmental health from New York State next year. So we have continued to build out our department. We'll end up hiring about 20 people to do all the inspections and all the approvals that are currently done by New York State. So that's been a huge endeavor. We've also appropriated funds to purchase property in Saratoga Springs. It was a unanimous vote by the Board of Supervisors, and that was to eventually build, which we hope to do sooner than later, a homeless shelter to make sure that we have a place for our Code Blue shelter. Code Blue is a program. It's a mandate by New York State. Every county must have a Code Blue program. And this time of year, as the temperature dips and gets down to a certain level, that shelter must be open. We've been jumping around to different locations in Saratoga Springs, but by purchasing the property, not only will it save the county a lot of money in the long term, but it will also ensure that there's a home for this mandated program each and every year. So that was another big undertaking this year. We're under a major total reconstruction of the county airport, and I've put out some videos on that. That's a $35+ million project, and we were able to get a grant for most of that funding. But at the end of the day, we'll have new hangars, a brand new airport that people use on a daily basis for all sorts of things. I think people think of jets flying in for the track and things in business travel, and certainly there's a lot of that. But we have a lot of, there's a glider club. There's people that house their airplanes there, a lot of Cessnas and those types of airplanes there. So that project is coming in on time and on budget so far, so that's looking good, and we'll have more information about that large-scale project. Unfunded mandates from New York State, I just mentioned one that is mainly funded, which is Code Blue, but the unfunded mandates continue to come at us each and every year to the tune of millions of dollars in new mandates. That happened again this year. So our expenses continue to rise in Saratoga County. As far as the town of Clifton Park, we have approved our budget, and we're in very good shape. We will not break the tax cap in the town of Clifton Park. As I stated, we did not break the tax cap in the county. We will remain without a general fund town tax. So the large majority of our budget falls under the general fund, and there will be no town tax. We rank 911 out of 933 towns in New York State, per the New York State Comptroller, for taxes. So Clifton Park is near the bottom of the scale with regard to towns and taxes in New York State, something we're very proud of, because we've always worked to maintain the town of Clifton Park as being a place where it is a low-cost opportunity for people to invest, live, and conduct business. So we're very proud of that. I won't go through all the programs and everything we have going on in the town, at this time, but we will talk about those things as time goes on. But that budget is completed, and we're in very good shape in Clifton Park. So, some good news that we can all be thankful for with regard to tax status in Saratoga County as well as the town of Clifton Park. And we're very proud of our record, and we're always keeping a watchful eye on your money because it is your money, and we take that very seriously. So, I'm very fortunate to have some wonderful guests here as we got the show going just in the last several weeks. And we're also blessed to have incredible partners in the town of Clifton Park, people that are working hard in the community. They're supporting the community, each of them doing it in their own way through very generous giving, through the work that they do in the community. And today we want to talk to somebody from our faith community. I don't think it's any secret. If you spend any time in Clifton Park, you understand there's an incredible number of churches of all denominations and many non-denominational within the town of Clifton Park. It's incredible to see the growth that we've experienced with new churches in recent years, the expansion of churches, and then, of course, churches that have been located in town for many decades, still thriving and going strong. And I think that's not only great for our community, but a great sign that people are still very active in their faith, supporting these very important local churches, and it's a huge part of our community. And we're so glad today to have, let me see if I can get this right here. All right, I got to get the camera on here. There he is, Pastor Roscoe Lilly from Starpoint Church. How are we doing today,
Phil?
sir?
Yeah, it's great to be here. I think you're going to have to change the tagline for the town, and you have to add worship to it. A great place to work, live, play, and worship.
That's a good idea.
You have to add it on there.
That's a good idea.
I think God approves.
Yeah, I think he would. We'll pray on it, but I think he'd approve. We're now getting into the Thanksgiving holiday here, and there's so much that we have to be thankful of, and that's something we're going to talk to Pastor Roscoe Lilly about in just a couple of minutes. I can say for myself, there's so many things that I'm thankful for. Certainly three of them, and the top three, I would say, would be faith, family, and freedom. Those are things that I'm thankful for every day that I never take for granted. And other than the Phill Barrett Show, what are you thankful for, Jay?
It's probably the same thing as you, Phil. Obviously, my family and my relationship with God, and also my friends.
Yeah.
So it's probably the three things
Those are
most
great
cherished.
ones.
Yeah.
Can't improve on those.
No.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
Sounds good. Well, let's get Roscoe in the conversation
about
here.
yourself.
Pastor Lilly from Starpoint Church, which is located on Grooms Road in Clifton Park. Roscoe, tell us a little bit about yourself for the folks out there that aren't as familiar with Starpoint Church.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on again. It's great to be with you today, this Thanksgiving season. And I'm the pastor at Starpoint. My wife and I, we started it 21 years ago. We were young and dumb. We were 24 at the time. Not saying that 24-year-olds are dumb, but we're saying that we were. We were definitely naive in that whole process. But my wife's from New York. She and I met in college in Virginia. I grew up in North Carolina. And we have 3 kids. And my oldest is at the university where my wife and I met. Yeah. And then I have a
That's
middle
pretty cool.
daughter. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's cool. We say it's a family tradition. You have to go.
Kids go to your
Legacy.
alma mater. That's awesome.
A legacy, yeah.
Then I got a daughter who's a junior at Shin, and then I have a son that's in 8th grade at Shin.
Very cool.
Oh, that's terrific.
He has a great microphone voice. Jeez.
Oh,
You should see him give a sermon.
I don't have a face for the podcast though.
You should see him.
Too late,
I have the
you're on.
radio. I know.
Too
I have
late,
the
you're
radio
on.
voice.
I mean, if you want somebody
Too funny.
to public speak and do it in a way that's not only, I think, forceful, but makes you think about things. Pastor Lilly is certainly one of those people, and we're going to get to that too, because I had a couple of questions around his sermons and how he goes about that, because I think it is quite unique. But tell us about what got you started down this road. 24 years old, you decide, you're going to be a pastor. You're
Start
going
a
to
church.
Start a church, which is a business. I mean,
It is a business.
I think you don't want to think of it that way, but it's like every other entity, right? It's a business. There's money coming in, money going out, employees. I mean, it's a lot to take on. What brought you to that decision?
Yeah, it's a great question. Yeah, 21 years ago, my wife and I, we just wanted to tell people about Jesus. We wanted them to know that, God loved them, and we felt that in this area, of course, this is not the Bible Belt, right? So there are a lot of churches in Clifton Park, but speaking towards the Bible Belt, there's not that many.
Not like North Carolina.
Yeah, not like North Carolina for sure.
It is the
or
Bible
Virginia.
Belt.
Yeah, that's true. So we met a lot of people who had given up on church or never been to church in their entire life, and we wanted to create a church for people who had given up on church, and so we were all excited and ready for it. We were at the senior center at the time, and we held our very first service in February of 2003. We're all ready, we're excited, and no one from the community shows up to our first service. Oh, it was terrible. So then we were like, that's all right, we're not going to quit. We hold our first service. No one from the community shows up to that one. The third service, no one from the community comes. Fourth service, we're not going to quit. And still no one from the community comes. I mean, that was a dark season. February's already pretty rough around here.
Sure.
And then to have no one come,
Dog days of winter, yeah.
I know, it was terrible. So we were just like, man, we just got to shut this down. This is not working. And I start reading through the Gospels, the eyewitness accounts of who Jesus is and why he came. And the first Gospel, Matthew, and I get to chapter 20, verse 28, where it says, Jesus said he didn't come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for other people. I don't know. I just felt like in that moment, I felt like God was just like, is that why you moved to this town? Did you move to this town to serve people, or were you hoping to be some kind of religious celebrity? And so my wife and I, we started serving the town. We went to all the strip malls in Clifton Park. And we said, hey, we're from Starpoint Church. My wife and I, we're here to freshen up your restroom for you. We didn't tell them, like, all of Starpoint Church is right here.
Yeah.
That's all it is, just the two of us, And it was so crazy because people, and you say, well, why would you want to freshen up their restroom? What does that have to do with anything? When Jesus, he washed the disciples' feet, at the Last Supper.
Yeah.
And, that's that was
Interesting tie-in there.
the job of the lowest slave in
Yeah.
the house was to wash the feet. And so we felt like, what's equivalent in our society? And so if you are getting paid minimum wage, the job that no one's going to do is clean the employee restroom, or the
Yeah.
job they're going to keep putting off. And so we thought, hey, we'd do that. And we had so many great conversations with people in town. And but she and I had done it 3 or 4 times, all the strip malls hitting them. And so we just had some great conversations. So fast forward to September of 2003.
So you did this all summer long?
Yeah, we did all summer long.
Oof.
And, well, not just that, but we did
Yeah,
other things
I know.
as well.
Yeah.
And we started partnering some stuff with the town as well, like got some other people to help us. We had painted fire hydrants over that summer, I think, and a few other things. But so fast forward to September of 2003, and we're ready to have our first service. And, we're at Phelan's Banquet House. It's not there anymore. Now there's a
Right.
Hoffman's
Yeah.
Car
Yeah.
Wash.
Yeah.
And so we're outside, my wife and I trying to
You
be
must
great
have been
good greeters.
nervous.
Oh my
Oh,
goodness,
my
are you
God.
kidding me? So some cars pulled in, then they pulled back out, then I'm like, oh man, another car pulled in, they pulled back out. Had a little tear in my eye, and I tell my wife, I'm like, listen, I don't think I can do this. Like, if no one shows up, this is it. This is not happening. But sure enough, a car stopped and got out, and I thought for sure they were lost. I thought they were looking for the restaurant. It's
Yeah.
just not- and they're like, "Hey, is there a church meeting here today?" And I'm like, Yeah, there is. Come on in, you know. So we had 6 people from the community at our first service there, and that's like 600% growth, right? I mean,
Yeah,
we're like the
right.
fastest growing church in America.
Jeez, talk about positive outlook on something.
Oh man! So, but 21 years, and so we were portable as a church, like a church in a box for 13 years.
Sure.
Yeah.
Setting up and tearing down every week. So we moved out of Phelan's and moved to the senior center there.
Clifton Park.
Yeah, and that was a great experience for us, and outgrew that. And then we were met at Shin and the school auditorium there for maybe like 10 years. And then we renovated some old warehouse space, industrial space there on 146A.
Did a great job with that.
And then and another church is using that now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're happy that is still continued being used. And then we purchased an existing church building in town that was struggling because of COVID. And then we doubled its size and moved there 2.5 years ago. So it's just been a journey, 21 years.
Wow,
Just
pretty
gone
cool
through it
journey.
in 5 minutes.
It's awesome.
That was quite an encapsulation of
Oh, man.
where you've been over the last 21 years.
What a test of faith.
Yeah, it sure is.
What a
Oh,
test
there's
of faith.
so many of those.
I mean, how many times did you just think to yourself that
This ain't worth it.
well, maybe not that, but is this really going to work?
Oh, yeah.
Because you were spending money to rent these places.
Yes, sure.
I mean, I remember at the senior center. I mean, you had
That guy charged us a lot of money.
Phelan's.
No, the senior center.
Oh, this at the senior
town
center.
supervisor.
I know that
remember
guy.
that.
He's tough. He's
Well-
tough. Oof.
Well, and one thing they had to do when they were at the senior center, they had to set up all the chairs.
And clean the
And
bathroom.
they had to put, well, I don't know if they cleaned the bathrooms, but they had to set up all the chairs, and then they had to put them all away again.
Yeah, that's true.
And at that point, you had a decent-sized congregation. So I
You came to
remember,
I remember you came to our 1-year anniversary.
yeah, I remember helping you with the chairs
that's
and
right.
everything, and just saying, "Boy, this is a lot of work, huh?" And it was, well, yeah, it's a lot of work, but how many times did you get to the point where maybe this isn't
Yeah.
meant for us to do, and what got you past those doubts? Because I think that's a metaphor for life in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's inspiring.
Well, I do feel like there's a sense of calling, of a
Yeah.
greater purpose, and what this is. It's not just about. I really go back to that passage. Did we move here to be servants of this community, irregardless of the size or irregardless of whatever some definition of success is, to say that this is where we wanted to invest our life in, and we feel very fortunate that we've got to, spend the greater part of our adult life, here in Clifton Park and being a part of this community and helping to introduce a lot of people to Jesus.
Well, it certainly looks to me like you have a good time in what you do. I mean when you're giving the sermons and talking to people, I think you're incredible working with people and helping them. And I think that's probably part of the reason for your huge growth that you've seen at the church as far as your congregation goes. I know you've added services, and it's just been incredible to watch from meeting you probably at that 1-year anniversary when you were at the senior center. I think that might be when we first met. And then knowing you all these years, just seeing the rapid development and growth of your congregation is inspiring. What do you attribute that to?
Yeah, God has been super faithful to us, so, and we tried to, there's a huge market out there for people who haven't gone to church or aren't going to church, and that's what we've tried to do, is try to reach people who have given up on church or don't go to church, as opposed to trying to get church people or take church people from another church. And like we had a family this past week, they came, and one of the dead giveaways that they were new to church. She had a business suit on, he had a tie on, and they come
Sunday best.
Yeah, the Sunday best. And we're very casual at our church, and so they came up, and I met them. It was our first time at church, and they were like, "This is our first time to church," and I was like, "Wait, ever?" And they're like, yeah, ever.
Wow.
I was like, not for Christmas Eve, Easter? No. I was like, did you grow up going to church? No, we've never been to church our entire life. I was like, well, what in the world caused you to go to church now?
Right.
And they're like, well, our daughter has been coming to your student programming on Sunday morning, and we thought we should check it out. I was like, you were a little concerned we were a cult or something, right? You're like, what in the world is my daughter involved in? And so, I gave them their very first Bible, like
Wow.
they've never had a Bible, and being able to part of that faith journey with them.
So, for some who don't know, obviously your church is a non-denominational church. Can you explain the difference for people who don't know the difference between a traditional Catholic, Episcopal, Baptist church to a non-denominational church, and what to expect and what's the difference? I think a lot of people may not know that.
Yeah, no, that's a great question and a common question for sure. I kind of think of our church more as maybe interdenominational instead of non-denominational because we have people from lots of different faith backgrounds. We have people who are Catholic, people who are Lutheran, Methodist, Baptist, no affiliation. And I would like to hope that we are taking the best of each tradition and concentrating on the things that unite us instead of maybe some secondary issues that divide us, to say, hey, these are the things that we agree on, and let's move forward on these big items that we agree on, and maybe leave some of those other things to the side, and we can do a lot of good with the things that we do agree on, and move forward in those. So, and that can take on lots of different styles too. Ours is a more kind of a contemporary style with drums and guitars and keys and all that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah, they open and close each service with music, and it's very uplifting. And I've asked them many times, how do you get musicians this good? I mean, they are fantastic.
we have
And I saw your daughter
amazing
sing
team.
earlier this year. She was fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we have an amazing volunteer team that really, these musicians are incredible.
They are.
I often think, like, if you're a musician, why wouldn't you go to a church to play? Go versus a bar where you play for 10 people who are drunk and don't know, and then you got to play till 2 a.m. or 4 a.m. You can go to church and everybody's engaged and excited and appreciates your skills.
Yeah, they're singing along, and getting into it, absolutely.
Right.
And you have such a nice setup. What you did with the stage and the lighting. It's very professional, and I think that also adds to it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So, as I mentioned, you hit a gear at some point. I don't know if you did anything differently or just being more involved in the community as time went on, gaining congregants a little at a time, but then you hit a gear, and the growth has been explosive to watch. And I know you've added services for that reason to try to smooth out the crowd a little bit, because as large as your facility is, there's been times I know where you've had overflow crowds. What's your current service schedule on a regular weekend?
Yeah, thank you, Phil. We have a Thursday night service, which is our first service of the week. So it's at 6:30, and that helps for families maybe who are going out of town, they're out of town for sports, or a lot of people work on the weekend. Like we have a police officer who comes, and he said, I haven't been able to go to church with my family in 15 years because he has to work the weekend. He's like, it's another 3 more years before I get Sunday mornings off. And so he's like, this is the first time I ever got to go to church with my family. So he loves it, the Thursday.
I think that's a great time too.
It is.
It is.
Great idea.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, before the weekend happens. And then Sunday we have 8:30, 10, and 11:30. So, the last 2.5 years have been a significant change for us in growth, for sure.
Yeah.
I think a lot helped with the new location that moved us a little closer to the Northway.
Yeah.
That we weren't anticipating to grow that quickly.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Moving there. So.
Yeah. We talked about partnerships and serving the community, and Starpoint Church has been an incredible partner for the town of Clifton Park. The trunk or treats that we do around Easter time, Halloween. We get a couple thousand people that come out, families.
It's amazing.
Wow. It's incredible for each one. And it's great to see so many people come and just have fun. A nice, safe environment where people can just have fun. And your congregants are mainly the ones that make the trunks, and I can't believe the detail and the imagination that they put
Very
into
creative,
these.
yeah,
I mean, it's
very
incredible.
creative.
So your congregants, your volunteer team gets. I know they enjoy it. You can tell
They love
how
it.
much they love it. And in addition to that, Starpoint Church, a couple of times a year, they bring lunch in. They make lunch for town employees. There's just been a multitude of things over the years. Why do you think that's important? Why did you want to get involved in those types of activities, whether it's with the town or any other entity?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it goes back to that first question that we felt when we were starting. Like, are we here to be servants to the community, or were we hoping to be some kind of weird religious celebrity? And we think our faith really compels us to towards good deeds. From Jesus to Paul, it's a theme over and over again in the New Testament that we, as followers of Jesus, are commanded to do good deeds, to do good things. And for us, we want to. I think sometimes Christians can do a lot of talking about their faith, and there's certainly an important place to talk about our faith. But we also we think it's important to show our faith, and not just talk about it, but to say, here's some proof positive, tangible ways that our community is getting better. And we think, as a church gets larger, you should be able to point to things in the community, larger things that are getting better. And, it's great helping people out in Guatemala. That's important. That's a piece of it. But we believe that God has placed us right here in this community to change things and for the better, and to help people who are in need. So, for example, this Sunday we hand out hunger bags. It's for kids who are on school break and or school breakfast and lunch programs at Shin.
Yeah.
And so we partner with Captain to make sure that they get all of the food that they need over those breaks. Because these kids, it's not like their parents make more money over the Christmas holiday, the Christmas break. So where are they going to get that extra food when they're used to getting their breakfast and lunch? And so Captain, they told us that we have helped to eliminate over the breaks food insecurity because of these hundreds and hundreds of bags that are given out each break that we do this. And so for us, that's that's an important part of our faith, is not just talking about it, but showing it and saying, where in the community are things getting better because a large amount of Jesus followers are present. We don't think our faith is just about when we die, right? It's like some kind of fire insurance to keep you out of hell. The future is important, but we also think that Jesus's message is about right now in this season, and how you and I live life. And our hope is that, when people, the label Christian is very broad and it can mean lots of different things. So there's no anybody who's policing that label. And because of that, you can have some really weird people, or, some people make you raise your eyebrows and all that kind of stuff. So our hope is that when people think about followers of Jesus and when they think about Starpoint, that they would think that here's this, I don't really have a box for these people who are following Jesus. They don't really fit into some category, nice and neat. And our hope would be that if people say, I'm not so sure I agree with the truth claims of Jesus, but man, the world is so much better because people are following the teachings of Jesus.
Yeah, it's funny you say
Absolutely.
that, because there's a big to-do right now in some of the southern states where they're pushing Bibles back in churches, and you have people that are all upset about it, and I don't see the downside of that. There's no downside to teaching kids about Jesus and God and the Bible. There's no negative. Like you said, it's all positive. So why would you object
Well, it's
to that?
positive if people are living it,
Yes.
right? It's that's the challenge, is you want someone else to live the way, you expect Christians, non-Christians to live
But
the way
unless they're exposed
Christians
to
should
it, they're
be.
never going to know how to do that. You know what I mean? So as a kid, I was exposed at a young age to, similar to you, it was a family that had a church in their basement. And I don't recall what kind of church it was, but it was funny. They used to give these glow-in-the-dark crosses that were on a little piece of paper and had a picture of Jesus on it. It had a small Bible verse in the bottom. And you had to come to 3 or 4 services in a row, and then you would get your little cross. And that was always my goal, was to get, because it came in different colors. It was always my goal to get the next color. And that was really my introduction to really regular church going as a kid, and I'm 52 years old. I can still tell exactly the color of the walls in that room and the color of that cross that glowed in the dark, because and the friendships I made and what I learned. So it's those little things, like you said, reaching out and really being part of that community. You don't know what changes you make, but to be good.
Well, I think there's no doubt when people are part of positive and supportive environments, more times than not, they will live their life that way and want to be more positive and supportive. I think we're such a product of our environment sometimes, and if you're always in places where there's negativity and I think a lot of people become negative about things. But when you're someplace where it's positive and you can get involved and it's supportive to you, you're in turn being supportive to the community because of your involvement in whatever program or organization it might be. I just think it gives people a much more positive outlook on life. And I see that at your church because like I said, we had 2,000 people show up for Trunk or Treat and Halloween on the Common, and you had dozens of volunteers there. You had many of your congregants had created these incredible trunks that the kids all enjoy, and that's has to be such a huge boost for them, just being a part of it.
They love it. They love serving the town
and having a little fun at the same time.
And I appreciate our partnership. Sometimes churches and towns can, let's keep each other at arm's distance and a little afraid of that. And so I appreciate you willing to embrace that and figure out how we can make our community better.
Well, I've always embraced it personally, and we actually rent space to 2 churches now in town facilities, and one of them is just on Sunday, another is year-round. And again, it goes back to my belief that is a positive environment. It's a positive aura. It's a positive entity. People love going there. It's within a neighborhood. There's no negative effects to the neighborhood, obviously. And why not? Why not have a church in that facility that we don't have a need for the space? So I have always embraced that personally for those reasons.
I know it's a blessing to those churches for sure.
Yeah, and you, like you said, you were in that position many years ago.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true, for a long time.
Hard to believe it's been that long already. But and I also want to thank you because Starpoint Church and the congregation, along with Pastor Lilly and Mariana, were very, very nice to give the town a donation of AEDs. So this year, we completed 10 new pickleball courts in the town of Clifton Park.
They're beautiful.
Which have been extremely popular, as we expected. And we also look to have AEDs at all of our public facilities and playing fields. And you were kind enough through your congregation to donate a beautiful set of AEDs for the pickleball court. So I just want to thank you for that as well.
Our pleasure.
Really appreciate it.
So yeah, we're trying to. It's our 20-year anniversary, and so we were giving away money every month to different community organizations, usually around $5,000.
Yeah.
To do that. So again, we think as a church gets larger, you should be able to see larger things that are getting better in a community.
My grandmother used to always say to me, and it's something that I've lived by. I think, Phil, you probably heard me say it when we talked about our Asheville thing. To whom much is given, much is expected. And if you're being blessed with richness, whether it be time, money, or goods, I think it's expected for you to give some of it back.
Amen.
And I think that's a good segue to your most recent sermon on Sunday. And you talked about how people manage different segments of their lives. And you had 3 categories: our plans, our pennies, and our priorities. And it was all about how we plan. There's always the old saying, if you want to give God a laugh, tell him your plans. That was Did you know about that joke?
No.
Oh, you didn't. All right. Well, you learned something today. So, the plans that we have that don't always work out the way we want. How do you handle your money? Are you giving with your money? And how tough it is to sometimes give money because we work so hard for it, especially in inflationary periods or the down economy. And priorities. What are your priorities in life? Tell us a little bit about that sermon and why you thought it was so important.
Well, first of all, it does my pastor's heart really good that you remember it.
Oh, yes.
Sometimes
absolutely.
people don't remember the message, so I'm
Love
so
a
glad
good
that you
sermon.
remember.
Listening very intently.
Yeah, I love it. I appreciate it. Yeah, when we talked about that sermon, we put ours in quotations, and our plans, our pennies,
It's never ours.
our priorities, and we were in a series called "To the King" is what we called it, and sometimes in my family when we're having a special meal, Thanksgiving or celebrating something, sometimes when we're out in public, we'll take our glasses and we'll raise them up and we'll toast and we'll say "To the King." And of course, some people look around and like, are they from the UK or what? Until they hear me talk, and they're like, they're definitely not from the UK.
North Carolina.
Well, that's right. So, but it's just kind of that idea of just like everything that we have comes from God, belongs to Him, and just another way of just saying thank you. Giving Him the honor and the glory and praise. And so we were wrapping up that series by talking about some ways that practically that we can toast the King. And for us as followers of Jesus, He's the King. And so what does that mean? So with our plans and our pennies and our priorities, and so letting Him be the King at the end of the day of our plans. Sometimes we have certain things on our schedule or agenda, and those change, or maybe dreams or how we envision certain things, and at the end of the day to let Him be the King of that. And then with our pennies, we use that to talk about to say, how are we using our resources for kingdom causes that God has entrusted to us. I told a story about how someone told me this past week that they picked up a penny in the auditorium, like our sanctuary where we worship at. And I was like, "What'd you do with it?" And they're like, "I stuck it in my pocket." And I was like, wait. You didn't put it in the offering box? Put it in your pocket? That is cold. That's the next level.
Penny
cold.
found is a penny earned.
I know, but I'm like, you're in church, though. You're in church. So, but and I think and I'm only speaking to Christians here, so I'm not, anyone else who might be listening that's not a Christian. For us, a priority is being generous to the kingdom causes, but also we feel a need to be generous towards other people. And what does that look like? And I think Christians often can struggle with either one, being generous to God's church, whatever church that is that you're going to, or being generous to people that they see. For me, I struggle with being generous to people. I have no problem being generous to the church, but being generous to people is a challenge for me.
That is probably my biggest challenge, believe it or not. And you'll probably think otherwise because you don't think I'm.
Oh, you're such a giving guy. I thought you were a pastor when I first met you.
I have a hard
Then
time.
I got to know you. I said, no, he's not a pastor.
Being charitable, specifically, like you were talking about the meals for kids. I would struggle with that. I really would. I don't know what it is. It's one of those deals that I struggle with being charitable that way. Now, give me a cause or give me something bigger than an individual. I'm the first one there to help out or whatever else. But being charitable to individuals, I find it very difficult. I don't know why that is.
It's tough.
It's a struggle.
Yeah. And we were talking about how this time of year with Thanksgiving, a lot of times people think, well, when I become rich, I'll be generous.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait. If you may, I looked it up, like, what do you have to earn to be in the top 1% of the world? Like a household income.
Not as much as you would think.
Is $60,000.
Yes.
Adjusted for inflation right now this year. We had a lot of it. $60,000 for household income is top 1%. And we think like, well, Elon Musk should be generous. He's the top 1%. Warren Buffett, that's the top 1%. And, they should, and it seems like they are, but I think the more question should someone else be, but am I being generous when I'm in the top 1%? So people in Haiti, people in, poverties in India, they would look at you and say, you're Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Yes.
What must it be like to go into a grocery store that has food everywhere? What must it be like to only spend 15% of your income on food? And you must not
throw
have
half of it away.
anywhere. Yeah, you don't have any. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, it expired, or your fruit got moldy and you never ate it. Yeah. So what was it? What would
That
it
you
be
could
like to be
trust the
rich?
water that
Yes.
Well,
one, you have
faucet?
plumbing.
Yeah.
You can
That's
you can
great.
trust the water coming out. Like you said, you go to a grocery store and you go to the area where there's greens, right?
Everywhere.
And there's a whole wall of every kind of green you could find. Arugula to lettuce. Do you know what arugula is?
Yes.
Arugula,
Believe it or not, I
lettuce.
was a produce inspector.
That felt
you know,
personal. That felt personal.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's Jeremy Connors in the pick level, and there's me.
Well, Connors isn't
Phill.
here, so I got to pick on him. So just every kind of leafy green you could come up with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's just one example.
And
but
fruit
you're right.
out of season.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Well, the thing is, you look at even our poorest people in our country are some of the richest people globally, because, like you said, it's
Wonderful
disparities.
safety nets
Yes.
that we have here.
Yep.
Yes.
But part of that sermon was about the plans, and that's the one that really struck me. The way you explained how you may not have that dream job that you want yet. You might not have that super nice car that you thought you'd have by this age. I mean, you gave a bunch of examples, and how we need to work through that and not be envious, I guess, would be the right term. That makes sense.
That's great. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. Yeah, I think it's so easy for us to look at other people's lives and compare and to be, angry at God, even to say, why didn't I have this? Or it's so unfair. And of course, we always are looking up the ladder, right? We always look at all the people who are ahead of us, that they've got success, they've got this, that, and they never, of course, look down the ladder and like, wow, I'm in the top 1%. What in the world am I complaining about? And not just the top 1%. We said 60,000 household income. You might be 2 times that, 3 times that, 4 times that, and you're complaining because, of what again? I'm confused.
Yeah.
God has been very faithful to you, but we just we want more. We just keep wanting more, but it's not making us happier, right? It's not making us happier.
Because the more we have, the more we want, right? I mean, that's human
Yes.
nature.
The goalposts keep moving.
Yes. Yeah.
If you went back and told yourself when you were 21 how much you make now, they'd be like, bro, hit me up.
Yeah.
We are loaded. We are so rich, man. What must it be like till we're rolling in it? And you would be like, no, we're not rolling in it. What are you talking about? We're broke.
I've often said,
Yeah.
whether you make $20,000 a year or $1 million a year, you'll spend to that paycheck, and you'll live to that paycheck.
Yeah.
And so that you're always looking for that next raise because you live to that paycheck.
I've never heard anybody say they have enough money.
No.
Because like you said, the goalposts do move. There's
They
no
keep
doubt.
moving. They keep moving. They talk about Americans being rich in commodities, but other countries being rich in community. It's like if you when I was
That's another tough one for me.
I know, like when I was in Haiti, can you imagine? You see a kid rolling a tire
And he's
and
content.
playing with it, and laughing,
Yeah.
and like, could you imagine giving that to your kid for Christmas this year?
Right.
Kids today get upset because the color of the bike, not the bike.
I know,
I,
but
I wanted
so
a red one.
much.
You gave me a blue one.
Are we going back to your childhood again?
No, actually,
all right.
it's actually a story at my house where I then took the bike and sent it back, and the kid went without a bike. That was my
right.
son. So.
Right. Well, I didn't know if we were going back to
No,
your childhood
no,
again.
I was very fortunate. I had
Your
I
Red
had very
Cross,
lucky. I
your
was very
Red
lucky
Cross
as a
that
kid.
changed colors, your
you
little
know.
nightlight. What kind of nightlight
Listen,
did you
I'm
have as a
giving
kid?
you an insight to my childhood, and you're using it against me. Not,
Yes,
not nice,
exactly,
Phil. Not nice.
exactly.
See, this is not godly. See?
What kind of nightlight did you have when you were a kid?
I didn't. Actually, I did have a nightlight.
Of course you did.
It looked like it was a clown holding balloons.
Oh, that sounds traumatic.
All
It
right.
wasn't. It was Bozo
No
the
comment.
clown.
That must be why he hates clowns. All right. Well, we'll get off that subject. But
Jeez, Phil.
my buddy, you got to get Connors back in here.
Yeah, really.
That way I can go after him. one thing I've noticed over the years, Roscoe, is one thing that I really liked about your sermons, and I don't know if you do it in a premeditated basis or it's just part of your message, but you not only give incredible information to people for people to think about. When you leave Starpoint, you're thinking about stuff, and I think that's thought-provoking. Church is a good thing, I think. But you seem to regularly challenge people, whether it be about their faith, some of the things that we're talking about. You're giving them facts that they can take home to think about. But you're really trying to challenge people, and I think that's a big reason for your growth, because I think that's what people look for when they go to church. They don't want to be in a situation where it's the same thing every week sometimes, and getting challenged in a way that you do it, and you do it very well, I think is incredibly effective, and gives people a little more meaning about going to church. Is that something that's premeditated for you, or is that just something that comes out?
Well, that's very kind. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, we hope that as people leave church, they've got some things to think about.
Yeah.
And even if they disagree, that they're maybe talking about it on the way home. It is a little bit of a challenge to push people at a rate that they can handle.
Right,
You
right.
don't push them right out the door.
Right.
But one of the things is, like, I think as you read the Bible, one of the interesting things is, like, it reads you too. And
The living
you can't,
word.
yeah, you can't look at it and walk away. It forces you to ask a question, to say, does my life match what I'm reading right here?
Right.
And then how do I bring my life into alignment with what I'm reading? I was talking to a guy at lunch today, and I was like, sometimes I was telling him, I don't always encourage people to read through the Bible in a year, because I've met quite a few people who've done that, and they're the meanest people I've ever met in my life. I'm like, you would think after you've read through the Bible 5 times, you would probably not be such a jerk, right? That's what you would hope. And so the question is, are you really reading the Bible, or are you just trying to get information, as opposed to, this is a mirror that I'm reading it, and then I'm allowing it to read my life. And then if I am a follower of Jesus, to say, I need to put my life in alignment with that. And that causes a tension within all of us.
Yeah.
So my messages are usually things that are things I'm struggling with, and things that I'm trying to bring into alignment in my own life. And
That's interesting. So it's almost, I didn't even think of that. So it's almost, as you're going through your own personal process, that comes out. Maybe that's why it connects so well, now that I think about it, because if these are things, we all think the issues or concerns that we have are singular to us, right? But obviously that's not true. Many things that perhaps bother me would bother you.
Yes.
Well, nothing bothers Jay, but so we all share a lot of the same concerns. So maybe by you looking inward, you're able to more effectively express that outwardly to the congregation. Does that make sense?
yeah, that would be the hope. I think it's true. A lot of things that even Christians and non-Christians struggle with the same thing. Like, we both struggle with anxiety.
Right.
We both struggle in challenges in our relationships, our marriage, both change with parenting. All those kinds of things are universal struggles for sure.
I love a good sermon. I actually listen to Joel Osteen every Sunday night at 11 o'clock. It comes on after the news, and I love the sermon. And I always wondered, because it kind of segues into what Phill said here. You touched on it. How do you know how to formulate a really good sermon that it's going to connect, and that people are going to walk away, like you said, and say, "Wow, that was pretty good." And I got to think on this one. How do you know that's what you're going to do when you're putting it together and you're formulating? Is it something you wing? Is it something you write down? Is it something you work on all week? I mean, to me, somebody who's a pastor can do a good sermon is probably a pretty good pastor.
Oh yeah.
Well, I'd like to say that all of them are winners, but I don't think they're all winners, at least according to my wife. So a lot of times the
Our
message
biggest supporters and our biggest critics, right?
Coach
you
Mariano.
need people
Yes.
to tell you the truth, right? You need people. So sometimes the message from Thursday to Sunday gets massive edits.
Okay.
So that's good. We don't televise the Thursday one because of that. Because like it needs some work.
Yeah, but that's a good question, Jay. And but I'm glad you said that, because I think that looking inward personally, I think that helps you connect. And really, now that I think back to some of the messages, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Well, I think we all universally struggle with the same type of things, like you said. We all struggle with relationships. We all struggle with money. We all struggle with certain emotions. So I think, whether you're rich or you're poor, you're going to struggle at home. Whether you're educated or you're not educated, you're going to struggle with. We all have the same struggles no matter what. So I think I always looked at a church, or even that's the reason why I listen to Joel once a week. To me, it gives me a little bit of a tune-up, I guess, so to speak, in my head to say, hey, look back and reflect, and you don't have it so bad, even though it was a rough week. I don't know if that's something you ever do, but to me,
yeah.
I think that's the biggest takeaway. I think why church and worship is great is because it gives you a little bit of a reality check that, you're not by yourself. The struggles you have are not only yours. They're pretty universal, and there's people that can help you and understand and help you through that and make you realize that you're think about what you're really struggling about. It's not usually as bad as you think it is.
Yeah, that's good. I think a lot of people are just surprised to know that the Bible talks about some of these things.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I didn't know that the Bible talked about anxiety. I didn't know that the Bible talked about marriage and relationships and how to, And so that's one of the things I found encouraging, is that they are universal struggles, and our scriptures have a lot to say about them.
Well, I just think back personally. I'm out of the house very early in the morning. Last night I get home, it was 7:30, 8 o'clock, whatever it was, and come home, and the first thing, as soon as I walk upstairs, I hear is, Daddy, Daddy, and the two little ones coming running to me, and that makes you forget about everything else real quick.
Yeah.
So for me, that's they are my solace. You gave a tremendous sermon a few weeks ago.
He's paying attention.
He is paying attention.
I'm impressed.
And well, I think it's a good way to set up a great question. Because, like I said, when I hear Pastor Lilly speak, it does provoke a lot of my own personal thoughts and inward perspective. But it was a great sermon about being thankful, and you touched on it a little bit. But we are going into Thanksgiving here, where I think the three of us and everybody out there listening and watching have a lot to be thankful for. But
A lot.
I thought that was a great sermon. And at that sermon, you talked about the 1%.
The 1%.
If you're 60,000 or above, you're in the top 1%. And all the things that we need to keep in mind to keep perspective. Because I think in today's world, there's so much coming at us with information and technology, and things are moving much faster than they ever have, and the world changes so much faster than it ever did, that we tend to lose perspective. As you are getting ready for the Thanksgiving holiday, and thinking back to that sermon, what's your message for us about perspective and being thankful on a blessed day tomorrow?
Yeah, there's so many things to be thankful for. And going back to what we were talking about a little bit earlier about being rich in commodities versus rich in community. Yeah. We have so many commodities as Americans, so many different things that we enjoy. But those commodities haven't really made us happier. Yeah. In fact, they've increased our stress, and we still want more of them. Yeah. Whereas I think one of the things that we can definitely learn from people in situations that are not as wealthy or rich is that they have a deep sense of community, and their relationships are very, very strong. And I think for us, I would say, as you're gathered around your Thanksgiving table, I don't think the idea would be like, wow, we have a lot to be thankful for. And so, and almost it can almost be like in a pride way. Like, I'm so glad I'm not like them. I'm so glad I'm not like the people in Haiti who are really struggling. But instead, because that's pride, I think more in saying, man, I want to be thankful for the people around my table and the relationships that I have with them, and savoring those instead of like, wow, what a great feast we have, and we eat until we can't eat anymore, and that we leave. So gratitude should cause us to live differently, not just to say, wow, we got a lot of stuff. Aren't we lucky?
Yeah.
I don't think that's what Thanksgiving is. I think Thanksgiving causes us to feel a sense of responsibility, I think, for other people, and a responsibility for our relationships. And then, of course, I've never met a person who's thankful, who's depressed, who's anxious. That you spend some time every day thanking God for his blessings. And they talk about emotionally healthy people are people who start their day off with at least 3 things that they're thankful for that happened the day before. Sometimes we just say, well, I'm thankful for my family. I'm thankful for a job. I'm thankful for my house. But when you get specifically thankful about what did your spouse do yesterday that reminded you of God's love? When you think about specifically what happened at your work or your house or with your child or whatever it was that reminded you of God's faithfulness and goodness to you, that begins to just, all right, yeah, I've got some challenges ahead of me. I've got some things in front of me that I don't know how they're going to work out. But God was faithful to me yesterday. I know he's certainly going to be faithful to me tomorrow. And that you can even face the challenges of today, knowing as you reflect on yesterday with gratitude, to know that the same God who was there is the same God today. And so that would be my hope or my encouragement for you, is that as you think about what does it mean to be thankful for the richness and community that you enjoy and that you experience, and how to dive deep into that instead of being thankful for stuff that can come and go so quickly.
Well, couldn't have said it better myself, that's for sure. Well, and I'm thankful for you, Jay, by the way.
Same here, my friend.
Happy Thanksgiving.
So thank you to Pastor Roscoe Lilly for being here and being part of the show today with an incredible message, words we can all live by, whether you go to church, don't go to church. I think looking inward on a regular basis and really finding those positive things that are a part of your life each day and focusing on those is very important. All too often we tend to solely focus on the negative, and maybe taking some of that advice and looking at the positive things that happened each day in your life might put you in a little better frame of mind, and also pass that along to the folks around you and certainly your children. So again, thank you for being here. We continue to enjoy bringing this content to you with great guests like Pastor Lilly. I want to thank he and Mariana and his entire family for everything that they've done here in Clifton Park and Saratoga County. And we look forward to working with them for many more years into the future. Well, I'm very thankful for partner Jay here at the TGM Studios. Don't forget to subscribe to the TGM Studios page, and we'd love to have you as part of the team. We'll be back next week with another guest from the business community. I'll keep it a secret for now, but we'll let the secret out during the week. So don't forget to join us each and every week for some great content, and we hope that there's at least a few things that you take away from the show every week that are helpful to you. I think today was a great example with tremendous advice and insight from a faith community leader in Saratoga County and throughout New York State, Pastor Roscoe Lilly. So with that, God bless you all. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving, Jay. Yes, Roscoe.
Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
And all the best to you and your family, and all the best to you. We wish you a wonderful holiday, a great end to 24, as we get started on the right foot for 25. God bless you all, and thank you.
We were great, we were free, had a country that couldn't be beat. We were right